start talking?
I would re-ask it, please. No? All right.
No. Well, for the sake of the record, the chairman has inquired of me as to whether or not it would be prudent to have a rule that if an applicant on the day of the meeting comes in with a document or documents that haven't been able to be reviewed by not just the board, not just the board's professionals, but also the public. So particularly with regard to a public hearing, the public should have the ability to see the document before the meeting. And that could result in the public not being able to review the record and make a point that could be important for the board and its deliberations. The problem that I see is in defining what is an important document and what's not an important document, number one. And number two, you got to be consistent. You got to apply it equitably. So if it's, you know, an application that you're inclined to be in favor of, and you have one where you're not inclined to be in favor of it, you got to treat both applicants equally. So if the one that you don't like doesn't have it, and you're going to take the position that it has to be adjourned, then you're going to have to take the same position with the one that you do like. That isn't something that you can try to make excuses for. You got to be consistent.
Okay, so for today, what was sent, I forwarded it to everyone, even though it was after the fact, and whoever got to see it, and those they may not have gotten to see it.
Okay, thank you, Dan. But now going forward, for future meetings, can we have a date, say a week before or 3 days before the hearing? No new material will be accepted. And if the applicant is concerned that it's important on the applicant's mind, then the applicant we can treat that, or the applicant can request an adjournment to the next available time, and that would apply to everyone. And I don't know if it has to be 3 days. That's just a suggestion. Maybe it has to be in enough time that if it's necessary, we can add that to the GML request, and that's much earlier than 3 days. So who decides that? Who makes that rule up? Is it just the zoning board votes, or the board of trustee votes, or is just done by fiat? I mean, how is that? How would such a rule come into being?
Well, it would be, quite frankly, the attorney for the village and the attorney for the applicant arguing in the first instance as to the importance of the document, the inability for the public to review it, and the board and the professionals to have reviewed it before the meeting. But I don't think this is something that should be a policy that ought to be done on the fly. I think that there needs to be a little bit of thought given to it, because it could be as simple as at the prior public hearing, we asked you to bring in pictures of where the dumpster was proposed to be located. And sure enough, they wait until the day of the meeting to bring in the pictures of the dumpster. Do you view that in the same manner as, oh, the GML came in today and no one's had an opportunity to review it?
Okay, so can I ask you, or maybe you could appoint someone to look into this and see what other jurisdictions do with late submissions? Or can you and the village attorney and maybe you want to form a subcommittee or something, to review this?
I think I'm capable of it. I've represented a number of municipalities. I've seen how those municipalities have handled it. And quite frankly, it's not universal. It's really up to the particular board.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Shouldn't we get on and officially open the meeting and further discuss this in new business after this case? As a point of order.
Okay, just one last point, and that would be, I would be of the mind to say that if something is submitted after a certain point, whether it's where the dumpster is, something that should have been submitted earlier and came in at the last second, that's a request for a postponement. That's what my gut feeling would be on that. But okay, we can continue discussing this under new business at the end of the session. Okay, all right, so
thank you.
Let's get the show on the road, as people say. All right, are we ready for call to order? Everyone, order. Okay, and Pledge of Allegiance. Suzanne, do you have the flag?
I have a flag.
Okay. Official Airmont flag. Okay.
There you go.
Let's all rise. And pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call. Okay. Member Cavell?
Here.
Member Scott Meyer?
Here.
Member Sheldon Meyer?
Here.
Ad hoc member Lukens? Robin, you have to unmute yourself, but I see you. Okay. Ad hoc member Simitovitz?
Here.
Okay. And Chairman Cavell, Chairman Katz?
Here.
Okay, and Member Berger had advised that he was not able to attend this evening.
Okay.
And we have the building inspector, Luzumo, and Dan Crasher, the deputy village attorney.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. Does someone make a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Marty Cabell here. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of
December 7th.
December 7th, 2021 as presented.
I need a
Okay.
second.
I'll second that.
Okay. A vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone deny? Okay.
Opposed.
That's in favor.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay.
Do you want me to read the public hearing in, Arthur?
Yes, please.
Okay. This is a public hearing on the application of owner Isaac Grunfeld for the variances from Airmont zoning code, Article 3, Section 210, Table 5, R-15. Since the property is non-conforming, the R15 bulk table is utilized, although the property is located in the R40 zone. Variances are being sought for front setback 35 feet required with 23.9 feet proposed, and front yard 35 feet required with 23.9 feet proposed to build a foyer in an existing single family residence. The applicant is also seeking an appeal from the building inspector's determination that this request is in violation of Article 8, Section 210-133A, which states that construction is only permitted if it does not extend a non-conforming use. The applicant is seeking to appeal this determination and apply for the above listed variances. The property is located on the west side of Overbrook Drive, approximately 20 feet north of Twin Lakes Drive. The lot is designated as Section 62.05, Block 2, and Lot 53 on the Town of Ramapo tax map. The property is located in the R40 zoning district and is comprised of 6 acres. The street address is 22 Overbrook Drive, Airmont, New York.
Miss Carly, it's 0.6 acres for the record.
Oh, thank you, 0.68.
Is it
0.6 acres. I apologize. I was trying to let people in the meeting.
No problem.
Thank you, Arthur. Okay.
Okay, I have a question. That extend the non-conforming use. Now, I know we're not talking about a use variance here, right? So is that correct? A non-conforming use? Is that the correct verbiage here? Dan?
Do I think it is? No.
You don't think it's correct verbiage? Is the notice still good?
That was approved.
They could request it, but it's not required. It's not necessary. But the notice itself is proper. It's just the request made in the notice isn't. And then they, I don't know if it's been made clear, they also applied for the area variances.
All right, so just for clarity, we're only talking about area variances tonight. We are not talking about use variances. Is that correct?
Well, they weren't talking about use variances either. I think the word was use in a different context, use of the premises or something like that. But procedure would call for the applicant's attorney to speak on this issue, and if required, argue as to why this relief is necessary.
Okay. Now Mr. Conway, are you the applicant's attorney? Mr. Conway, are you here?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, and I'd like to clarify and amend the request at this time. There was confusion previously when it was submitted by Fast Forward Permits as to what needed to be required. We're merely seeking what's in the first portion of the request, which is the variance relief for the front setback and the front yard variance from the front yard requirement from the bulk table, just merely those two items. The remaining text or portion of the text that was read is not required. We're not seeking a use variance. And this is we're merely seeking the variance relief for the proposed small foyer entry of the house, which is a single family house that exists now. So I would like to amend the request at this time.
Okay, so tonight's discussions, considerations are only about the bulk area variance in the front yards, and we're not talking about anything to do with a use variance. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And just for the record, Mr. Zumo, do you agree that the applicant's original alternative relief request challenging your purported determination is not accurate, and that they don't need
a use
variance?
There is no use variance. It's an R40 single family house. The only variances that were mentioned in the denial letter that was produced on October 27th were the two area variances for the front yard relief.
Okay. The other thing, while you're on, Lou,
Yeah.
the proper bulk table, the applicant seems to argue, on one hand, from my reading of the application, that because it's a non-conforming use, that the R15 bulk table applies, even though they're in an R40 zone. What bulk table applies here?
Hold on one second. Sorry about that. The R15 bulk table applies.
And what's the zoning in this area?
The zoning is R40.
So why does the R15 apply?
Because of the non-conforming buildings and structures code 210-132 for non-complying lots.
Doesn't that deal with the use?
The first section actually deals with the non-complying bulk, which is section A. Use is section non-complying lots, residential bulk. This copy's not good.
I
That's
thought
section
one of your
deals with the use.
Okay, but why would the R15 apply here? If the use is conforming.
Yes. Yeah. It's section for non-complying lots, residential bulk separated from other land. Here we go. It's minimum lot width of 100 feet may be used for a one-family detached residence, provided such use shall comply with the bulk requirements specified in the highest residential district having the same or less lot width. For residential lots less than 100 feet, the following minimum requirements shall apply. It's a list of minimum setbacks and everything and things like that for the minimum lot. This lot, I believe, is 107 feet. I have to check the figures on it.
Lou, what section is that for the record?
The one
Didn't you say under 100 feet?
It's provided with a minimum lot width of 100 feet. It's 210-132D, non-complying lots.
Thank you.
This lot exceeds it though on the lot width. We're at 104.9 on the east and the existing.
All right.
And that's according to Mr. Gdansky's
Right, I saw the drawings. I'm looking at them now.
Yep.
Yes, I misspoke on the R15.
That mean my notice is wrong?
Well, it would be because based on this, I don't see why we're using the R15. I misread the section A of that paragraph that says you can go to a decreased bulk table.
Yeah, and I'm just looking on the bulk table provided by Mr. Gdansky, and it has, it has 100, required, and it's 104.9 provided, existing and provided with even with the requested relief.
So Kevin, you agree it's R40 too as well?
Yep, it looks like it.
Does that mean we don't need a variance?
Oh, that means he needs a bigger variance.
Bigger variance. Oh, you still need the 35 feet, whether it's 40 or R15 or 10, you still need the 35 feet in the front. And either way, he doesn't have it. Is that the problem?
No, I believe the R40 requires 50 feet, but I'm checking the code right now.
Oh.
I did send the bulk tables to the zoning board before I left the office.
Okay.
Yeah, but when you send it on the day of the meeting,
Well,
you don't give us much time to review it.
And it's also on the website for everyone to look. I just knew it would come up based on all the emails today and letters.
Hey, I have a question while you're, excuse me, Mr. Katz, can I ask Mr. Zumo a question?
Certainly, but he's busy looking something up now, but he's
he's looking something up. All right.
Yep, I got it.
I will wait. Sorry.
Single family residence is 50 feet. So the 35 becomes 50. Which increases the variance they require.
The existing condition is what we indicated already, which is 31.2. and we'd be requesting 7 feet in addition for the revised foyer. So it would come to 25. It would come to 25 feet.
Right, but you got to also check with Paul to make sure it doesn't trigger other variances because of greater requirements in an R40.
Correct. And he couldn't be here tonight. That's why he had drafted that letter, which was a part of the quote late submission, because he was not available tonight. Otherwise, we wouldn't have submitted that.
But now we're saying that the variance is much larger. The variance needed would be much larger than originally noticed in the notice. Does that mean we need a new notice, Dan?
You not only need a new notice, you need a revised application.
Yeah, and I have no problem with, just for the
board.
boards.
That has to be circulated.
Yeah, I have no problem with adjourning it for that purpose, because Mr. Gdanski couldn't be on tonight.
All right, so we need Dan, we need a revised application and a revised narrative.
Revised application, revised narrative,
and a revised
circulated.
EAF. What about EAF?
Yes. And GML.
Okay.
All right, so we're back to square one on this. Is that what we just decided here?
Well, not really. Let's not forget that it started out pretty well in that originally the applicant applied for 2 distinct areas of relief, and we immediately got rid of one. So we're only left with 1. So we started with 2 and we're only left with 1. So I think that's progress.
Okay, but we're not at the promised land yet.
No.
So what do? We adjourn now, or we just you have to start all over again in terms of getting a new application and everything?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think if I can make a recommendation, that the applicant's attorney agree to withdraw this version of the application without prejudice, to resubmit with the new version, and then we'll re-advertise, etc.
And that would be my request.
I'd like to point out the February meeting is on February 10th. Today is the 13th. They will not get 30 days notice. I'm just pointing that out. Or do you want me to just try to send it and see if we get something on time?
I don't think it, first off, didn't we just get the GML?
I got the GML yesterday.
Right. And even though they looked at it as an R15, they really didn't have much to say. So
it rare, but it was an approval letter.
Yeah.
Right. So the sooner you can get that to me, Kevin and Yossi, the sooner I can get that out.
Absolutely.
If you could do it tomorrow, I'll get it out tomorrow because Monday's a holiday.
No, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Okay. Thank you.
What does that mean? We might be available for February, or it's not going to happen?
I think we can do it. Don't you, Dan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So a motion to accept the applicant's attorney's request to withdraw this application without prejudice to submit a revised new application.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Without having to repeat learned counsel's words, I would like to adopt his words as motion.
Marty, I like your words. I'll second it.
There we go.
Thank you.
And what is this motion for? To adjourn tonight and reschedule for February?
No.
We'll tell you later.
This is to withdraw it without prejudice.
Prejudice.
And to, you could read it, reapply.
Right.
Suzanne?
Yes.
I know we're not open to the public, but someone's got their hand up. I'm not sure who that is.
Thank you. I saw that. I was going to say something to Arthur when we were done.
That what?
Arthur, there's
So what?
somebody who's raising their hand on a phone. Do you want me to unmute them, or at what point, since you're not opening the public hearing because it's being ran?
What's the point of opening a public hearing if we're not having a hearing?
No, I know, but I don't know what this person's.
You don't have to open up the public hearing.
No, you don't. I'm just saying, since we're not having one, you might want to ask them to say something.
They have, you know, spent a considerable amount of time listening, and I'll leave it to the board's discretion as to whether or not you want to hear what they have to say. But that if they start getting into the details of an application that's been withdrawn, that would be completely inappropriate.
Okay. So, all right, let's hear what people have to say.
Okay. I'm gonna ask this person to unmute whoever iPhone is. There's no phone number.
Hi.
Hi.
You hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Eliezer Fisher, 21 Overbrook Drive.
1 second. Dan, do we have to swear these people in, or that's only?
No.
No, it's not a public hearing.
Okay. Proceed, Mr. iPhone.
Hi, my name is Eliezer Fisher, 21 Overbrook Drive, and I'm the contractor on this particular case. The reason I believe that it's called a non-conforming lot is because of the square footage on the property, not necessarily on the width of the property. Non-conforming can be a couple of reasons why it should be non-conforming. So I guess once the square footage goes down to a smaller area, that's when it gets adopted to the R15 zone instead of staying in the R40. So even though the property is 104 feet instead of bigger than 100, but it should be considered a smaller bulk table based on square footage on the property. So I asked that we should just take a look at that to make sure that there's no other reasons why it's called non-conforming besides just the lot width.
Mr. Zubo, do you want to respond to that?
It's never not just based on the square footage of the lot.
Okay.
There are a lot of lots that are undersized for the zone that they're in.
But I was going to say, in any case, I'm going to ask Mr. Gdansky to do a full workup and resubmit, and I'm sure he'll speak with Mr. Zumo. So we'll all be on the same page as to why and to and what needs to be done and what needs to be requested.
Okay.
But if the reason is because of that, we should take that into consideration. A non-conforming is only the width of the property, or it takes in consideration the square footage.
All right, we're not.
We're not going to get into that now.
We're not getting into it now. Yeah. I just made an announcement that we're not going to talk about an application that's been withdrawn.
I'm just trying to save the application for tonight, because if that's the reason,
that's great.
Then we should consider it.
I'm sure a lot of residents who would like to have spoken heard that and dropped off and don't have an opportunity to respond. I understand, you know, the points that you're trying to make. I'm talking about when they should be made.
Okay, but if this is the case and it was thrown off just because of this, that's not the right way to deal with people waiting for variances very long. So if that's a simple case and it's just thrown away, we got to look at that before closing a application.
I don't know. Did you just sign on?
The applicant has spoken and he represents what they say. and we're going to be bound by what the applicant's attorney has said, and he's withdrawn his application. So the application is withdrawn, and we'll go further from that. And I'm sure the next time this comes before the board, it will have been properly reviewed, and everything will be squared away. Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to speak?
No, there's no one else, and I will need a motion to adjourn the application to the February 10th meeting date. And Dan, I don't know if we do say in person or Zoom if the.
I have a question.
What, someone has a question?
Yes,
Oh,
I have a.
They
I
didn't
have a
raise
question.
their hand, but go ahead.
Okay, just a question about the permit process. Are these requirements laid out when a person applies for a permit before this gets to this stage of something's already built?
I'm sorry, I still don't know who's speaking. Who just spoke?
I don't, David Solomon.
That's correct.
Okay, and how are you, and you're what, related to the applicant or something?
No, I'm on Beaver Hollow. I live around the corner. Just a question in general, if you go for a permit to build something, aren't all these rules spelled out first and not to get to this point?
Right, mistakes happen. That's why there were review boards. But you're right, it should have been squared away ahead of time. But it wasn't, so what can we do? We can't, we have to go further from that.
I think to answer the question, Lou, isn't it that they submit a permit, you do your denial letter, and then they submit to planning and zoning, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And none of this stuff was pointed out at that time?
What stuff are we discussing? That the fact that they needed a
R40, the R40, the distance from the curb to the front steps, that kind of stuff.
That was all pointed out on their drawings, but their engineer listed the bulk table from the R15
Rather than the R40.
rather than the R40.
So they're looking to get a correction to mistakes that they made.
I also made a few mistakes on which non-conforming codes we used based on the information that I received from other sources. So there's mistakes on both ends, but either way, it has to be renoticed and based on the actual measurements and the actual zone designation.
I just don't want the whole neighborhood to start shrinking their lots now.
Thank
Well,
you.
that's why we're looking into these things.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for the comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, or we're?
I don't see any hands raised, Arthur.
Okay, so we need a motion now to adjourn.
No, why are we're not adjourning anything.
Oh, no, we're not adjourning. You're right. They have to resubmit. You're correct. You're correct.
Yeah.
Dan. Sorry.
So
You're right.
what do we do? Just finishing tonight's session and
correct. The next item would be any new business. And I know, Arthur, you had a question for Dan about the meetings going forward.
Good night, everyone. Take care.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
very much, and we'll meet again.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Dan, let's continue what we had started earlier about is there some way that we could have some sort of mechanism in place that avoids having information, submitted at the very last second, as this has happened here tonight. And I understand various situations. I mean, you might.
Let me put it to you this way. Suzanne announces at every meeting the dates by which people have to submit for the next meeting.
Right.
So that doesn't have to change. It's what are you going to do about it when they don't comply? So the requirement is already known to every applicant, or should be known by every applicant. It's codified somewhere. I think Suzanne puts together a list of, okay, here's the meeting date, here's the cutoff date for this, meeting. In other words, you have to have all your materials submitted by then. Occasionally, when we have a public hearing that's continued, they're told at the meeting, okay, we'll put you on for this particular meeting date, but in order for it to actually go forward, you have to submit your outstanding documents by a date certain. We do that often. I don't know if, well, I'm sure that not every person who was asked to do that submitted everything on time and went forward after a late submission and was heard. But the example that I gave with a picture of a dumpster, if you want to, make it so firm that it could apply to something like that, okay, you're paying the applicant's paying its professionals, reimbursing the village for their professionals. People, scheduled their nights to revolve around the meeting, and now because they didn't bring in or submit a picture of a dumpster location, we're gonna be so firm in that rule that the meeting will have to be adjourned to another date.
Right. Well, I mean, the only other choice would be leave it to the discretion of some people, and then you have a problem of not uniform application.
Do you want me to leave it up to you, to you, Arthur, as the chairperson?
I'll take the responsibility, but I'm almost certain that someone's going to come up and say, "Well, you allowed it in that case. Why aren't you allowing it in this case?" And also, it's not always the applicant. Well, GMLs to this time came at the last second, also, and that's not the.
Let me tell you,
I can't control that.
That you gave, Arthur. You gave the number one example of what I've seen over my 30-something years of doing municipal law. The GML coming in on an application the day of the meeting.
And that happens almost always.
Almost always. Now, is it the applicant's fault?
No.
The state gives 30 days from the date that it's sent out. Now, how many days do we typically give between one meeting to the next meeting for people to give, submit all their documents?
I try to do 5 weeks rather than 4 so that the GML is sent out in a timely fashion.
Okay, but let's say we have
someone that doesn't like a continuance that doesn't need.
Yes.
Okay, then they tell them I need it at least 2 weeks before the meeting.
Right.
Minimum.
So what happens if one of those documents was a GML?
Well, I don't allow a GML. That's always over the 30 days. It's usually additional information that the applicant or their representatives have to submit for like a continuance.
But my point is, you can't be so dogmatic about it. I think it would have to be something so prejudicial to the public and the board, or an affected property owner. And I think you'd know it when you see it. But I don't think you should have such a dogmatic rule that, hey, if you don't have it, any document that we asked for by a date certain, you're just not going to be heard.
Okay.
So what are you saying? It should be not always in the discretion of the chairman? Is that what you're saying?
That's in general, as a proposition, that's usually the way it works. Yes.
And does that leave the board open to, you're favoring this applicant over that applicant because the situations were in their minds the same and yet the results were different? That's why I would prefer a hardcore rule that, it's the same for everyone and, chips fall where they fall. But if, to avoid the problems, it'd be better to leave it to the discretion of the chairman. I'm willing to take that responsibility as long as I'm chairman, which who knows how long that'll be. Not that I haven't seen any writing on the wall. Okay. Do we need to promulgate a rule, or is there such a thing as promulgating a rule for the ZBA, or it has to go in front of the Board of Trustees, or it has to be published somewhere, or?
No. Each board can make up its own rules, like the 3-minute rule. How long a person can speak at a public hearing. How to appoint an ad hoc member as a voting board member, when that would take place. I mean, these are already listed elsewhere, but all this stuff to be put together. The village board has its own policies, written policies. I don't know that you're there yet. I don't know. I don't know that I've ever seen a zoning board do it. Doesn't mean that it can't be done. But, let's start coming up with, tonight we came up with a biggie. Let's see if we can't come up with other ideas. And if it then makes sense to come up with a short list of procedures that we can make apply to everyone and be made aware for the general public to be aware of them.
Okay. Maybe I'll try to give something to Suzanne, some sort of draft or something, a short draft, some ideas, and then we'll take the next step after she gives it to whoever it needs to be given to, like you.
Yeah, I'll give it to Dan. Okay.
We all know where it's going. Yeah.
Okay.
And Arthur, you had a question about the meetings going forward being Zoom or remote, and you wanted to ask Dan that as well?
Right. I think you said you didn't know yet, but yes. Are we having continuation of the Governor Heichel's Zoom allowance of.
Well, let's get the procedure right correctly, or correct. In case you forgot, at some point during one of his many scandals, the legislature removed the executive powers from the governor and reassumed them for themselves. So actually, Governor Hochul doesn't have the authority to do what Mr. Cuomo used to do in terms of executive order.
Well, who
so
made the executive order that we're still in a state of emergency?
Isn't
that the governor?
No, the way that worked was the way it normally works through the legislative process, where someone from the or there were sponsors from the Assembly and then sponsors from the Senate, and they submitted bills. And as of yesterday, I hadn't heard whether it passed, but I heard that from NICOM that it's all but certain to pass and that the governor is going to be signing it. Hope that's true, because it expires. That would be a law.
Wait, what? I lost you in terms
what
of
what would be a law?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. The extension of virtual meetings.
Oh. Well, wait. Is that all based on it being a state of emergency or not?
Yes.
So
not state of emergency, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right, but I'm just curious. I know the state of emergency in New York was, it was supposed to end, and then it was extended till January 15th, which is Saturday. And do we know what's happening with that?
I don't. I was
tunnel
vision focused on this.
Okay.
And the other interesting thing to point out, I've never seen this before. They didn't, unlike all the other times that it was extended, whether by executive order or by the last time the legislature, they put in a drop dead date. This time they say unless notified differently or until such time as you're notified differently. So there's no date listed. So it could be boom, no more Zoom with very little notice.
Mm-hmm.
Just like our notifications.
Yeah.
That means everything has to be re-noticed. The boom instead of the Zoom.
So
be re-noticed.
What I did, Arthur, just so you know, for like planning board on the 27th, since we didn't know, I put it both ways and that they had to check the website to cover myself.
So to be candid, or not to be candid, but to point out, it wouldn't hurt to do all the notices that way from now on.
Okay.
So that if we ever did get into that position where they give us, 1 week notice, that we've already accounted for it.
Okay.
Okay, that's a wise thing. Yes. Okay. I imagine if it's done by the legislature as a law, you don't need for it to be an emergency anymore. They could just say, this is the law, and from now on, this is how we're going to do it, without regard to it being an emergency or not. That's certainly something they could do.
Yes, but the governor does have to sign it after they've adopted it.
Okay. All right, so basically we don't know. That's the bottom line.
No, we strongly suspect. We have every reason to believe that this will occur.
Okay.
Question.
Yes.
Dan, on the application that we just kind of went bye-bye with, do we as a board need to vote and that we all agree that should have been done, or we don't need to vote?
You did vote.
We did.
What you did vote on was
just want to make sure
that the applicant withdrew that application, and that you accepted the withdrawal, the offer to of withdrawal.
Make sure we're covered. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I could party on all night, or I could make a motion to adjourn, even though it's such pleasant company, and Sweeting would be, parting would be
such sweet sorrow.
I won't go directly to Shakespeare. I don't want to steal his line, but that's my motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
All right, have a second vote. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank
good
you,
evening.
Suzanne.
Have a nice
Be well,
long
everyone.
weekend.
Be well.
Okay, take care. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye now.
That if something happens and we somehow lose the Zoom meeting, you'll notify the board.
Absolutely. The minute I know, I will let
Suzanne's on top of everything.
Oh, thank you so much.
Really?
I do try, but I will absolutely let you know, Arthur. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good weekend. Take care. Hello?